everyone. My name is Arwa, and I've been a teacher at GradeSolution Learning Center for over 3 years. I've taught over 100 students across primary and secondary levels, English and creative writing. And today I'm going to talk about idioms and how to use them. Now, why does this lesson even matter? The reason we're talking about this today is that what we've noticed over the years is that students have definitely heard of idioms. They definitely, memorize a bunch of idioms generally the day before the exam. But when it comes to actually using them, when it comes to actually writing them in their compositions, they falter. And what they do is they try and force fit it in somewhere. They try and use it sorry, just for the sake of using it, ends up sounding rather awkward. So for this reason, um, their their language marks don't tend to increase, even though they've, tried their best to use an idiom to try and use, good phrases. And we're going to tackle this problem today by teaching your child three different ways to use an idiom in their composition, to use it and weave it naturally into their writing. So the three things we're going to tackle today are going to be how to use it in character descriptions, number two, conveying emotions, and number three, in conclusions. Right. So today we're going to let the cat out of the bag. We're going to reveal secrets of idiom writing. Let's start with a little bit of a refresher. So, what are idioms? Now, an idiom is a figurative expression. It belongs under this umbrella, it includes similes, metaphors, personification, things like that. And figurative language has a hidden meaning. So, the meaning of the idiom is very different from what the words are actually saying. To give you an example, if your friend says, break a leg before your exam, are they cursing you? Are they wishing you ill? Of course not. In fact, it's quite the opposite. They're actually, telling you, hey, good luck, right? So you can see that the meaning of the words is different from what the words actually are, right? To take another example, the news was a bitter pill to swallow. Here we're not talking about medicine. We're not talking about anyone being sick. In fact, the meaning of this idiom is that the news is very difficult to accept. So, for example, Jane didn't get into her dream school, and it was a bitter pill to swallow for her. So you can see that not getting into her dream school was something that Jane found very difficult to accept. So this is the meaning of the idiom, very different from what the words are actually saying. Right? So this again, begs the question that why do we bother, learning idioms? What's the point learning this very precise phrase and then memorizing it and then using it in your composition? Point is this. Idioms create imagery. They create mental images in your reader's mind. This is what makes it so colorful to your writing, what makes your writing really stand out. And it signals to the examiner, right, that you have a certain flair for language. And to illustrate this point, let's take a look at this. Right. Without an idiom, your sentence might sound something like this. You're always interfering in my affairs. The moody teenager snapped. With idioms, you're always sticking your nose into my affairs, she snapped. So do you see that the meaning is identical? But when I say sticking your nose in, now you're in your mind, right? You're picturing someone who is like literally, poking their nose where it doesn't really belong. So there's this mental picture in the reader's mind. Similarly, Ellen was exhausted after the dance competition versus Ellen was dead on his feet after the dance competition. Both are similar in meaning, but the idiomatic phrase dead on his feet signals a level of intensity. It very conveniently and very expressively it tells you the idea that Alan is super duper tired. He's very tired. So the intensity of emotion is something that the adjective exhausted cannot capture. Right, and this is why we use idioms in our writing. So let's get down to the meat of this lesson, which is, using idioms to describe characters. So that's the first thing. Now, when it comes to character, right, we try and describe a few aspects of the character. We try to describe their behavior, we try to describe their appearance, we try to describe their personality. So, if we take a look at examples where we're just using adjectives, right? So, for example, the new student was very quiet and shy. This is fine. Now we see the new student was a shrinking violet who kept to herself. There's this idea that, this new student is fading into the background. She is clearly not very extroverted, right? She's rather shy. And you can immediately picture this in your mind. And it tells the examiner that, hey, I know this idiom, I know what it means, I've used it appropriately. And you can, of course, use this in your character-based introductions as well. So here's an example with the idiom. From the moment she stepped into the classroom, I could tell that the new student was a shrinking violet. While the rest of us chatted noisily outside during recess, she would sit in a corner, her nose buried in a book. So you can see that this description of her, this idiomatic phrase, shrinking violet, describes her shyness. And the introduction actually compares her with the classmates. So the introduction is doing something, is going beyond just describing her, it's describing her classmates. It kind of shows the contrast between her and the classmates as well. Now, in these lesson notes, what we have done is we have created a table for you, something to take back, after this lesson. So you are able to use idioms in your own writing. So when it comes to character, right, we have two things. As I mentioned before, you have your appearance and you have personality. So the idioms here can be used for personality. So for example, the idiom two-faced means someone is, acting very sweetly in front of you, they're very nice to you, but then the minute you're not there, the moment your back is turned, um, they are very mean, they're very rude. They may be like spreading rumors about you or something. So do you realize the the amount of stuff I convey with those many words? I can convey with just one word, which is one idiom, two-faced. And this is another beauty of idiom, that they manage to convey so much in so little. Right, so you can see the other idioms for yourself. And now we have idioms for appearance, right? And one of the idioms I really like is skin and bones, right? So if someone is skin and bones, they are, very frail, very thin. Usually we use this in a negative sort of way to describe someone who is malnourished, who clearly hasn't, had the best of times, right? So feel free to pause this video to take a screenshot and let's continue. Now, moving on to using idioms to show emotions. Once again, as we talked about before, idioms convey a kind of intensity of emotion. It tells you how your character is feeling. And the most important thing is it creates pictures, vivid images in your reader's mind. So let's take a look at this example. Mr. Lim flew off the handle when he found out his students had cheated. I could have easily said, Mr. Lim was very angry. He was furious when he found out his students had cheated. Then you wouldn't have felt the explosive anger. You wouldn't have felt the intensity of his emotions if I had just used the word angry or even furious. Similarly, when I say, I felt as if a weight had been lifted off my shoulders once the PSLE was over. Now, your reader, when they're reading this, right, they are experiencing that same physical sensation of, a weight on your shoulder, you being burdened, and suddenly that burden being lifted off. They're feeling that with you, and that is very powerful. When your readers, can experience the emotions for themselves, you know you have done a really good job in conveying them. Once again, we have a table here of a list of, the most common emotions you would expect to write in your compositions. The big five, you have happiness, anger, sadness, fear, as well as nervousness and anticipation. Now, I just want to point out that the last two, right, fear versus nervousness, the difference is usually to do with the degree and the context. So, fear is a very potent emotion. It is very strong. It is more like, life or death. So, for example, you see a snake in the middle of the path, right? You are very afraid. You're like, oh no, I'm going to die. I'm going to be bitten by the snake. You're really afraid. Your heart is in your mouth. Your blood runs cold when you see that snake. Versus nervousness. This is more like, you know, the jitteriness you feel when you are right before a competition, for example. You're going to give a speech and, there are butterflies in your stomach, your bundle of nerves, you're on edge, you're on pins and needles. So you can use all this to describe that jittery feeling, right? So there's a slight difference between these two emotions that I just like to point out. Now, feel free to pause the video, take a picture, and let's continue. Finally, we've reached the conclusion. So using idioms in your conclusion. Now, in the conclusion, right, what happens? Your character is reflecting, right? They have undergone a whole journey, a whole transformation sometimes. They have been in an obstacle, right? They have overcome certain obstacles to be where they are, and now they are reflecting on what has happened. And once again, certain key emotions keep on cropping up in the conclusion. Your character maybe made a mistake, they've been scolded, so they feel regret, they feel guilty, they feel ashamed, they come to accept that they did something wrong or they have to change. So these common themes are there. And once again, idioms come to the rescue. Instead of saying they feel guilty or he felt guilty, you can simply say he had blood on his hands. Now, you look at this picture of blood on the person's hands. No one is going to think your character's innocent because the minute you see blood on someone's hands, right, you know they're guilty, right? It is a very instant mental connection that they're making. Similarly, instead of saying he accepted it, you can say he knew he had made his bed and now he had to lie in it. Right. So these idioms, as I mentioned, time and time again, they create really vivid images that help your reader feel these emotions, your characters' emotions, their guilt, their shame, and make your conclusion very powerful as a result. Now, I'm going to show you an example of how we use these idioms in an actual conclusion. Right? So, for example, Daniel is caught doing drugs and receives a prison sentence. So, this is the story, right? This was the composition. And now, this is your sample conclusion. Sitting alone in his cell, Daniel stared at the cold gray walls. The faces of his mother, his friends, and his colleagues flickered through his mind. One by one, they had all washed their hands of him. He clenched his fists, swallowing the lump in his throat. No one was coming. As the heavy silence pressed in, Daniel knew the truth. He had made his bed and now he had to lie in it. So, as you can see, we've used two idioms here. The first one, washed their hands off him. I could have just as easily said, one by one, everyone had left him. But this doesn't have the same effect because when you think about it, when do you wash your hands? You wash your hands when there's something dirty on your hands, right? When you want to be clean or something. Similarly, this evokes this idea, right, that Daniel is something dirty, he's unclean. And no one really wants anything to do with him because he's so dirty. He's like, a very shameful part of these people's lives that they don't want to really interact with. And the other idiom, he had made his bed and now he had to lie in it. So um, instead of saying he accepted his mistake and he knew that he had to face the consequences of it. This is a better way of saying the same thing because it emphasizes that he was the one who had made his bed. He was the one who had made the poor choices. He was the one who had made these poor decisions. And now he was the one who had to deal with the fallout. As they say, you reap what you sow. Right. So these idioms are very powerful in conveying so many ideas in such a short and succinct manner. So they really work. They don't sound overly long, they don't sound overly preachy as well. Right. Once again, we have created a list of useful idioms for the conclusion. And what I've done is I've divided it into two parts. The first part is idioms for consequences. Basically, your character has done something wrong, and now they have to deal with, the punishment, they have to deal with the scolding. So you have idioms like to face the music, when, for example, maybe you didn't study for your exam, and as a result, you failed, and now you have to face the music from your parents, right? And the other idioms are idioms for making things right. So your character has admitted their wrongdoings, or they've realized that they need to improve, they need to change. So one idiom you can use here is, for example, to eat humble pie. So for example, a character is going around telling everyone, that that they are right, their answer is correct, and when it turns out that the answer happens to be completely wrong, and the character is forced to eat humble pie to admit that they have done something wrong. So once again, feel free to pause the video to take a screenshot, and let's continue. So this entire lesson was spent talking about idioms, but this is really only the first step. There are a lot of common mistakes that people make while using idioms in their composition writing. And a very common example is, mixing up similar sounding idioms. Another one is, using combining two idioms into one. So for example, a very common mistake is, instead of saying in in the water, or sorry, or in the soup, or in hot water, your child combines it together and says in hot soup. So this is just an example of the kinds of mistakes that students make while writing. And really, the difference between knowing idioms and memorizing them versus knowing how to score with idioms and using them in your writing in a way that brings you marks is really boils down to practice, to feedback, to knowing what kinds of mistakes to watch out for. Now, if you like this, if you want to see more of the content, and if you want to learn more, feel free to contact our admin, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.